I thought I'd talk about Big Rob and the fact that he's the hero that we deserve. Well, no, need. Maybe not deserve, but that's what we need. As talking about the Conservative Party leadership campaign. Because there's all these candidates, and quite frankly, there's too many to bother with, in the sense of like, oh, let's go through all of them. And I was just like, nah, let's simplify it to what we need. What we need is Big Rob.
I was going to say, I've started to be afraid that I'd missed one.
No, don't worry, although there is one who's meant to be running that isn't yet. So we'll start off just, of course, promoting here Douglas Murray's The War in the West book club that I did with Harry, because it's too often that the West is destroyed, not by those out down the West, but those who rule the West. After all, the barbarians can only come in if someone holds open the gates. So we shall go to Big Rob himself. So if we go to the next link here, you can see there's a tweet by a guy on Twitter who calls himself Big Rob. And of course, this is a meme account. He loves doing the simple as meme. And usually that's it, right? We all know the simple as meme. It's just, okay, what if the Prime Minister was like 3 pints, 3 Gregs, simple as. But the thing is, the more I looked at Big Rob there, standing outside of number 10, the more and more I realised it's bigger than that. You know what I can't imagine Big Rob saying? We must die for the glory of the environment. We must all sacrifice everything we have for the glory of Ukraine, or the glory of the UN's new charter on blah-de-blah-de-blah, who cares? Some internationalist nonsense. I'm starting to realise, that's what we want. We want Big Rob. We want the man who actually won't sell us out. And that's fundamentally what Big Rob is about, not necessarily about, Grigs and pints, obviously.
Common sense parochiality is actually preferable to the managerial state at this point.
Yeah, but also the fact that he's on your team, and he's on your team, as Carl has pointed out with his video about the North FC meme, which is why it's always good. Like there is something about the North FC meme that just won't die, and it's that, which is it's actually what people want.
I will point out though, the North FC meme and the name Rob has some strange meme magic for my next segment.
All right, so just to mention here as well, of course, there's another reason why I'm not too hooked up on the Conservative Party thing, their leadership campaign, because of course it's MPs who decide, the 2 candidates, and then the members of the Conservative Party get to vote, and that's it. So there are a lot of people endlessly learning about them, so there's not really that much need.
I'm really envying our Yankee viewers that actually get to vote in their primaries.
Yeah, there's that. But also, if you're not a member of a political party, I've said before, that's why you should be. It costs you a small amount, and you will get to influence your country more than your vote at the election, that's for sure. But otherwise, that's just a whole other point. But then there's something I also saw, just the myriad of candidates that, who cares? And you can see 2 distinct things, though. You've got the plastic people, the kind of, as you say, managerial types. I mean, Rishi Sunak immediately comes to mind. And I noticed the fact that he's already on 43 MPs endorsing him. Highest, just like that. Just gets 43 MPs, just come out and do it. Meanwhile, you can look at Kemi Badenoch, for example, as someone on the other end of the spectrum, and she's on 16, which is 3 away from qualifying. But it's just the fact that, okay, immediately you guys are all planning this, and therefore I don't trust you on anything at all.
Have you got the Michael Gove conspiracy theory in this segment yet?
No, I haven't seen the Michael Gove conspiracy.
Okay, so the fact that Michael Gove is back Kemi Badenoch seems very uncharacteristic for him, considering he should be on Rishi's side. However, he did the same thing when Boris was running against
his
Theresa
nature
May.
to backstab.
Exactly. Well, he did the same thing when Boris was running against Theresa May and capsized his campaign to get May elected. So people are thinking he sees Kemi as the strongest right-wing candidate in the running, and so by associating himself with her, he contaminates her candidacy and lets Rishi move seamlessly into the position.
But either way, I don't think that'll have a big impact on Kemi.
No.
If we go to the next one here. Sorry. You can see here that we also have some other stuff which made me laugh, to say the least. I did see, this is one of the supposedly based candidates, Suella here, saying that there are too many people in this country who are of working age or of good health and are choosing to rely on benefits. I'm like, yes, who would that be? Next image, please. It's them. For one. I mean, it is weird how just, once an election, suddenly all the candidates will say base things, and you're like, okay.
Callum, are you implying these engineers, these doctors, these pillars of society are on benefits?
Yeah, 100%, all of them. They're on free dental as well.
Ah.
We don't get free dental.
No, we don't.
Americans. We get free healthcare. We don't get free dental, that's for sure. And these guys definitely do. Well, they also get free healthcare, and they didn't pay for that either, because they didn't pay a penny. But it's just the fact of, okay. But also, I love that she comes out and she's like, oh, by the way, we need to deal with people who just live off benefits. And I'm like, well, there you are. But also, only now. I mean, that's the important thing about all these myriad of people. I mean, you have to care about what they're like, not when they're running for your vote. What are they like the rest of the time when they're in office? Obviously, not now, because now is just, they're obviously just pandering endlessly. So there's no real point in taking them that many seriously if they're not whilst in government. We get the next image here. This is something that David noted here, which is also of interest, I thought, in relation to all of this. Ex-Guardian writer Suzanne Moore, not Not very rightist, that's for
No.
sure. Looks at the embarrassing large array of BAME talent in the Conservative leadership contest. Contrast that to the Labour Party, who talk a good game. Good game being here, diversity is king, of course.
And
because-
excluding white men from your conference.
Yes, actively. Too many white men have spoken. I was like, right, that was a weird thing
Tell
to
your
say.
front bench.
Yeah, but if people who don't remember, go and check out the Labour Party conference videos we made, because that literally happened. They decided too many white men had spoken. But if you go to the article itself, Suzanne in here is obviously just talking about the fact that, okay, well, all the candidates very diverse, whereas all the Labour candidates aren't. That's not a bad point. Something interesting. Doesn't necessarily mean we do much with that data, but it is worth pointing out. As she says in here, I'm talking about the Tory leadership race, which is full of the renowned fox killer now calls apparently brown people and other chaps called women. She references this guy here who decided to tweet out, do you think the members of your party are all ready to select a brown man, Rishi? And then deleted it because he realized how that looked. It's like, yeah, no one cares. He's got brown skin. No, that's not what's important.
This is the cricket bat kimono samurai, isn't it?
Yeah, it's that dude.
Right.
That's why he's the
Okay.
fox
I'm not
killer.
going to take your advice on anything.
But it's also just this debate has become a thing, of course, because some of them will do this, and one already has,
Yeah.
which is, don't you know I'm brown? Don't you know I'm a woman? So vote for me because I'm Hillary Clinton. That's right, I'm a conservative.
exactly what Nadine Dorries and Jacob Rees-Mogg just said, coming out in front of Downing Street saying we're endorsing Liz Truss. They said, oh, she's a Brexiteer, we promise, even though she was a Remainer. And then at the last second, Nadine Dorries goes, and she's a woman, which is congratulations for getting to your position despite your disability. Very much sounding like that.
But it's another obvious sign that whoever wins this, if they pandered on, don't you know I'm a woman?
Yes.
It's cringe. Don't you know I have brown skin? It's like, oh really? I didn't know. I don't know what that point is meant to be.
Thank you to singing from the left sim sheet, as per usual.
Yeah, so there we are. No one cares, mate. But she also says the Tories can always claim the first ethnic minority PM in Disraeli, of course, who was Jewish, but they don't make a song and dance about it because no one cares. So yeah.
No. The left like counting Jews as white people,
Yeah.
if and when it selects.
I remember when, what was it? I think it's Diane Abbott was mentioning about the fact that she was the first black woman MP ever, and then spoke about the Labour Party's proud history of first black MPs as well. And I was like, yeah, well, the first like BAME MP was in the 1772 or something, like before the United States even declared independence. It was.
Yeah, but you're relying on Diane Abbott to know a year, and that involves numbers, and it's not her strong point.
It was also just like we know what brown people are. Like this isn't new. I know everyone still wants to have their Obama moment because they're jealous of Obama, but that's just not the case.
Who
here.
was that councillor that said he was the first person elected within 4 years?
Oh, there was some guy at Labour conference. Like, I'm the first black councillor in Islington in 4 years.
Yeah, how long does the election cycle make?
4 years. So, for a whole 4 years, there was no one black councillor. And boy, what will we do?
How did they survive?
But she mentions in here that, of course, it's obviously, just, again, nonsense. But it is actually more diverse than you think. And I think it is interesting, to say the least. And Carl pointed this out to me because he decided to just look into both of the leadership elections. And if you go to the next link, you can see here that there's issue would list them by their parents' origins. How would these people define themselves? And some of them have already campaigned on that basis as well. Like, for example, Grant Schnaps just being like, don't you know I'm Jewish? I was like, okay, Grant, I don't care. I don't know why you bring that up, but okay.
So strange.
Yeah, but you can see here the candidates for the Conservatives, Nigerian background with Kemi, of course. Very proud of that. I love how she once spoke about we tried to take over the world, but, didn't work out. Oh, well.
Yeah, sorry about the Barbary lads.
Yeah, Indian, Pakistani, English, Jewish, Indian, English, French, boo, and Iraqi there. And then if you go to the Labour leadership candidates as well, all of them at least have, like, from their parents, at least one parent who is English born, which is, if you can go to the next image, please, John, on there, then you can see the fact that, there is a surprising difference there, which obviously, again, kind of rubs the left's nose in their failures, which is true, but also something more revealing, which we'll probably do a premium podcast on, because I'm not sure what we're allowed to say about that. Anyway, moving on to the article, again, going back, there's one more thing she says in there that I thought was interesting. Kemi Badenoch, though she won't win, is challenging all of this. What an interesting politician. The left, if it had its wits about, would realise that her time is not now, but it will come, and it should have better answers prepared than it has right now. The idea that Kemi Badenoch being a black and a woman, therefore she's, going to destroy that narrative. But this is, Moore's language on this. However, Kemi would obviously turn around and be like, you what? Don't you know you're black and a woman? No, I'm not.
Unless she's celebrating Pride Month, then she leans into her intersectional credentials.
I know, but she would turn around and be like, don't call me that.
Yes.
Because we've seen in the past, like, she is not involved with identity politics in that regard. She does not see herself as some kind of like, don't you know I'm black and a woman, therefore elect me. At least that's how she's always spoke in previous eras. And also the idea that this is how we should define society it's just a hole. Like, why do we want to live in this hole? Can't we just do something more with Britain instead? If you go to the next one here, there is some remarkable aspect to this, though, which is there was a bunch of polling done, of course, from different sources, but this is just one that made me laugh. As you can see here, Kemi being second in the polling.
Why is Morden the top? Dear God.
Don't know. But this is just some polling of the thing. And this is what I love, because a load of candidates can't be able to go through them all. I'm just using Kemi as a baseline, also because, I like her previous work. That's obvious. But I'm not here campaigning for anything. I just think it's funny. The fact that she's someone who is just on like a junior position, but is just so based on critical race theory, as we've seen in the past, could just get this level of support out of nowhere, because the rest of them are not able to do that, or at least haven't done that. Certainly haven't given the speeches she's given. If you get the next one here as well, there's also the fact that so far, none of the other ones have been endorsed by anyone big, like Your Royal Highness here, Dr. Shola, who decided to endorse Kemi Badenoch.
I did see this.
By denouncing her, of course, because that's how the left's endorse right-wingers. Dr. Shola here, Kemi, is running to be Prime Minister. How power-grabbing ambition is rooted in discrediting and delegitimizing anti-racism efforts. Yes.
Please.
That's the point, because you people are awful. Denying systemic racism. It doesn't exist. What do you want? Go home and cry about it. Whitewashing British Empire. Again, on a racial basis, you can't do that, obviously.
Yes.
On the idea that the British Empire did nothing wrong, again, cry about it. I mean, I love this. We've spoken about it in the War of the West book. There's a great example Douglas gives. I don't know how you say it. The Amritsar massacre. It's a massacre in India. British troops responsible. 300 people died. And this was described by Churchill as the worst thing ever in the British Empire. I'm like, okay, but it's 300 people dead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like compare that to any part of Soviet history, Chinese history.
Pick up the phone to the Germans and see how they feel.
Japanese imperialism. Like 300 people dying in a massacre is naught. I mean, it just isn't worth noting in Soviet history. And that's the obvious point, which is like, if you're going to try and whitewash the British Empire, you don't need to. It's already pretty whitewashed by its reality. Also, enabling white supremacy against black people. Yeah.
Well, no,
again,
she's
shame black.
She's capitalized white as well. So we actually see even the racial supremacists, critical race theorists' worldview, they've started constructing. It used to just be capitalized black. Now they're involuntarily capitalizing the white, and you're seeing the sides start to separate even further into what they hope will be antithetical warring racial groups.
Yeah, I mean, they do run a race war.
Yeah.
That is the goal.
Yeah, and we don't, thank you very much. So
Yep.
do shut up, Dr. Shola.
But I love that. She can crawl back to her mother. I was like, okay, right. Someone is clearly shook, and that's always interesting to know the least. Because if you go to the next link as well, we can see the fact that this isn't new either. Of course, she is just an individual that has been smeared many a time by Vice News, who tried to smear her with the idea that she doesn't like Kimberly Crenshaw very much. Like, yeah, cool. No one likes Kimberly Crenshaw very much.
Good judge of character, tick.
Yeah, and I thought we'd go back because everyone's replayed the critical race theory speech she gave that I thought was interesting. But this one, again, I love. There's only the audio for this. I think we did find a video eventually, but there is a debate between Kemi and Kimberly Crenshaw, and we've still got a bounty on that. If someone can find the full version, because we've only found one that's clearly been cut a bit. But otherwise, let's play a small clip from this.
We call it a compliant environment now, but hostile environment for illegal immigration is something that there's been a greater push for, not just in the UK, but all over Europe. This is a European thing. So when Kim talks about, this is also a European thing, when Kim talks about what's happening at the border between, say, for instance, Mexico and the US, we're seeing this even between European countries where the further east you go, they don't want the Romanians and Bulgarians, who again, are white, to come in because they feel that there's stereotypes about those countries, for example. It is a lot more complex. And where I would challenge the language around white supremacy, for instance, I would challenge it because the group of people who suffer the most in the UK are not blacks or Asians. It's white working class boys. It's very much a class issue. If you are a middle class black or Asian person, you are not going to suffer in the same way that if you're black working class. It is class. And we don't want to talk about class. Diane says we don't want to talk about race. We talk about race constantly. What she says is, I think what she really means is, I can't talk about race without my views being challenged. We've been talking about race non-stop for years. We have been.
I mean, that's why I like her. I mean, I've said.
Undisputedly correct. It was same with Thomas Sowell, who she's cited before in Race and Economics, who demolishes the concept of whiteness before it's become this hegemonic thing because of CRT gaining prevalence, and where he says, okay, you have the Irish who are much worse off than even some of the formerly enslaved blacks in America, and also you had Jews, you had Italians, and so the CRT people have expanded the category of whiteness to make their theory so unfalsifiable. But way back when, the N word used to be used for white people in the States.
Well,
so
I mean,
it doesn't
this
just
whole
cut across
phrasing,
skin. Yeah, it doesn't cut across skin tone lines at all.
well, the whole ideology is based on this phraseology of, we have the whites versus the non-whites, and just that doesn't make any sense in this context. Never really works in reality, as you can see with this example, and the fact that the whites are always the oppressor and the BAMEs are always the oppressed. It's just obvious nonsense. But that's why I find her interesting, of course. And there are some other candidates who have said interesting things, but she is just the most interesting when compared to the plastic boys of like Rishi Sunak. I mean, where's the clip of him saying anything like this? Where's the clip of him just being like, yeah, identity politics, just behead that, shove it in a closet, the hell with that, don't want to deal with that nonsense anymore.
Quite the opposite. When he announced it today, he said, women and girls are basically still oppressed in our country and don't have the same privileges as men.
No. But if we get to the next one here, you can also see that Posey Parker has also got interested in this. And this is another weird aspect of the whole thing. I mean, just sitting back, again, it's the MPs voting, not us. But I just find it interesting that all of a sudden, every single candidate is lining up to basically try and win over Posey Parker's vote.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen them all lining up being like, I indeed know what a woman is. My opponent does not know what a woman is.
It's the if you don't respect my sex, you don't get my ex campaign.
Yeah, but I find it funny that all of British politics, because frankly all of British politics is rooted in the Conservative Party right now, and who's going to be leading the country, have all turned around and been like, yeah, you know what the whole debate in Britain is? Just what is a woman? I mean, we joked about it becoming all of politics, and frankly, you can now see them campaigning in that regard, which is just, if you can't define what a woman is, you're out.
It's just insane that this common sense question has become the flashpoint
Yeah.
as the litmus test for credibility in politics.
Which, good for Posey and all the rest of them making it such an issue, because it's a good one to polarize the whole world on as well. If you get to the next link, this is a story in which Kemi's talking about, and she's, presumably this is campaigning, in which she's saying the fact that she tried to get the gender-neutral toilet reforms in, as in, we're not doing those. Those are retarded. Why would we do that?
Same with our former university, Kent, trying to make all of the gender-neutral toilets on campus. And when was it you or someone else went around and looked at them? Turns out they were just counting the disabled.
Yeah, there was a map. It was like, there's a gender-neutral toilet here, and I was, following the X. I ran into the disabled and went, huh, okay. And then the rest of them were as well. But she says in here, she told the Commons last Monday that gender-neutral toilets and facilities put women at significant disadvantage. And should be scrapped in buildings, office buildings, schools, hospitals, and entertainment venues. So just ban that, because that's obviously going to lead to rape that we can easily prevent. Seems sensible. Quote, I had civil servants writing on the notice, which I had to put out, saying that, quote, you can't say that. And, quote, we need to check whether that's something you're allowed to say. Of course, Badenoch added that despite the intervention of Whitehall's officials, she didn't change a word, which prompted cheers and applause from the audience she was speaking to here at a free speech event, who were just like, yeah, the hell with that. It's nonsense. And she's right to do it. Because if you go to the next one, this is the event she was speaking at, which was a bunch of free speech guys. You can see Andrew Doyle was there. Leo was there. Nick as well. This is in London, of course. So I just also found that interesting. I think the headline of this is also great as well. Slab's online safety bill promotes to champion free speech.
My only dissenting comment against this is that they invited Shara Ali, who was slung out of the Green Party because he was not willing to acquiesce to the non-biological definition of woman. I did a debate with him at Sussex University, perfectly cordial, committed to free speech, though he endorsed personal carbon credit limits on your phone per person, and
He's a Green Party member.
Yeah, and government punishments if you went over. So I think the right needs to do a better job of gatekeeping here.
Yeah. And the reason I'm going through all this is not just to promote Kemi, even though she is based and I like it. It's to make the point that you compare this to the big retards, and that's not my words. Someone else did this. If you go to the next one here, you see someone pointing out, it's just, you've got people like, Shabba Javid talking to David like he's scum. How about you show some respect for the NHS instead of complaining? Okay. Wonderful individuals.
Thank you, man who said Biden is best for Britain and said #justice, #BLM on the conviction of Derek Chauvin.
Yeah, but you just see the level of support these guys get, which is nothing. And meanwhile, I'm looking at Big Rob as we go back, which is just of course, Big Rob wouldn't do this. And that's who I'm looking at as whether or not it's a measurement of success or absolute failure. And there's one more thing I just wanted to say in regards to all this before I drop it until it's done, which is they've got to stop making these videos. You've seen the goddamn videos keep putting out. I'm running for the country. I stand for the country. The really plastic. Oh, I hate it. This is just Richie's because he's the most plastic individual. But just
I thought Mordaunt's was the most egregious because it was the most plastically patriotic in that you had I vow to thee my country, you had images of Churchill, you had the BBC wartime style narration, and then you find out that she's worked with Bill Gates, who wrote the foreword to her book, to take over agriculture in Edinburgh. And it's like, you're just a globalist shill imitating what we actually care about.
But it also kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you remember when this story came out, that a bunch of school children were recorded and taught to sing Great Britain, Strong Nation as some kind of like patriotic song, but it just came off as like North Korea.
Yeah, that's what everyone said. It was North Korean, yeah.
I mean, the lyrics certainly were that level of cringe. But the last thing just to mention, if we go to the next one, which is just the fact that it's wonderful how no one cares what the opposition thinks. It's like we have the Conservatives who have messed everything up, don't get me wrong, and they're having their leadership election to see who's going to run the country. And you would have thought in any other nation on earth, this would be the moment for the Dems
20 points ahead.
Or the Australian Labour Party or whoever else, right? To be like, yeah, come on, this is the moment we get them. And instead, it just no one cares. No one gives a crap about anything they have to say. It's just like, yeah. I mean, these guys are cancer, but you,
totally non-viable. The only reason you've got off some half-decent cracks at PMQs is just because Boris was a very low bar.
But no one really cares about, okay, I had some drama in Westminster. What's the point? But I thought I'd just end this off with one point from Nick, who I think was really funny in regards to all this, because Rees-Mogg is going around doing interviews, and he ended one incredibly funnily. Men, what is stopping you from ending every interview like this? Let's play.
But that's the way of politics. Sic transit gloria mundi.
Translate?
Oh, so perishes the glory of the world.
Such a pretentious asshole. There's something likable about it.
That was what people liked about Boris, though. He went around quoting Greek quite a while ago, and he lost that charm.
Sure, but I mean, it's not necessarily about who can be the most pretentious upper class. It is who can be Big Rob, frankly, regardless of their background. Just as long as you can trust them to not be like, right, lads, very sorry, but we're all going to have to suffer for the glory of internationalism.
Yeah.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the Epoch series, this one about Ethelstan, the king of the Anglo-Saxons and maybe the first king of England. If you want to follow what else we're putting out, you can follow us on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.